What do Panic at the Disco, I Don't Know How But They Found Me, and The Killers all have in common? Aside from being pretty good alt-pop, alt-rock bands, they are all fronted by Mormon or ex-Mormon artists. And that is kind of the topic of today's video. I've been very fascinated with Mormon artists who don't make Mormon music these days. Let it be known, I'm not Mormon, so I can't speak on experience or anything. But this is just something that I've noticed, and then other people have mentioned to me too, so I was like, wait, let's make a video about this. So before we get into that though, let me introduce myself first. Hi, welcome to my channel. This is where I talk about music and music related things. I like to talk about albums, artists, events, and observations that I see happening in the world around me. So if that is something that you seem to be into, you are welcome to like, subscribe, and stick around for a little while. I post videos every Wednesday, so if you want to hit the notification bell to be notified every single time I make a new video, you are welcome to do that. And just let me know down in the comments below what brought you to this video. I would love to know. But let's get on with the video now. So first off, what is Mormonism? Let's just put that out there. Mormonism is, sorry, I have to read my notes for this. It is a offshoot religion. It's a slightly separate religion from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I'm pretty sure most people just refer to as the LDS Church. They follow like the Book of Mormon. So that's about as much information as I know about it. Actually, I had a really big phase where I was really into like Mormon YouTubers talking about the Mormon experience. I don't know why, so don't ask me. Fun fact, Brendan Urie is a Mormon or ex-Mormon. So is Dallin Weeks of IDK How and ex-Panic at the Disco member. He's an ex-Mormon. So is Benson Boone, who is going to be the highlight of today's conversation actually, because I tricked you. We are not actually talking about Mormons. Well, we are, but we're gonna be talking about Benson Boone and why he's just so performative, because I think it has to do with him being Mormon. So I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat here, okay? Everything I say is alleged, but Benson Boone is just so performative in everything he does. Nothing feels authentic to him, like at all. He's coming out with his new album called American Heart, and he's doing like 3 back-to-back shows in SLC. You do not get more Mormon than that. He's just so like, I don't want to say like out of touch, because I'm probably gonna make a video about out of touch people later, but he's just so disconnected from himself. I think, let me put it out there. This is all just my observations. None of this is fact. But like, holy moly. His recent TikToks have all just been so weird. Not weird, but he gives off the vibe of, do you guys remember that female gaze guy who was like mustache curly hair? I think Benson Boone unironically killed the mustache curly hair trend, because after his revival or whatever, his like rise to fame, I don't know, I've been listening to his music since like 2022, so I knew him before he was like this weird character that he is today. He used to look so normal and be so normal, and then something like switched in his brain and he was like, I need to be weird and off-putting and not in a good way. And so I don't know what that's all about, honestly, but there's something about him that just feels so fake, and I think it's part of this rebrand that just feels so fake. Because the thing is, artists have done rebrands and they've done it correctly. I mean, if you look at Ariana Grande and if you look at Miley Cyrus, if you look at who they were 5 years ago, it is not the same person at all. You know, the thing about artists is they do rebrands when they have new eras, when they have new albums. I mean, look at Taylor Swift. Look at Beyonce. She has completely switched into making country music now when she used to make like R&B. So that's not to say that you can't do a rebrand successfully, but I think it's harder for men to do rebrands successfully. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of a single male artist that's done an actual rebrand, like a full 180. So maybe that's part of it, but there's something about his new like backflip jumpsuit Harry style queen aesthetic that's just not doing it, because it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel real to him. It feels so extravagant and out there, not in like a way where he's putting on a performance for a show. It feels like a character, but a character that isn't fully fleshed out. Does that make sense? And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that he is like Mormon or ex-Mormon. Because from what I understand, if you're like Mormon or very religious, or you grow up that way, you are very sheltered. You don't really have the proper skills to, I don't want to say like socialize with people, but like you struggle with assimilating into society. I don't think that's the right word. Integrating with other people in a way that isn't slightly off-putting. There's always just gonna be something about people who were like grown up very conservative, or I'm not saying that he's conservative. I'm not saying that. I don't know what his political beliefs are. But people who grow up very like sheltered, very conservative in very like smaller communities, or like people who are like homeschooled, I feel as though from my personal experience, they just interact with the world differently. Like Benson Boone, he wants it bad, and he wants it so bad that it's almost like other people can smell it. You can see how bad he wants it. It pushes you away from it as the audience. It pushes you away from wanting to give him that fame, not in a sense of like, oh, you want this, so I'm not gonna give it to you, in a sense of like, he wants it so bad and he's so bloodthirsty for it that it's like revolting. And it's like, oh no, get away, stay away, 10 feet. And I saw a TikTok that kind of mentioned something like that. I could probably link it in the description because I think that's kind of what sparked this whole video in general. It's the idea of he's just not authentic to himself. And we see this happening with another current rebrand, which is Addison Rae, which she could be doing this so well, but instead of setting new trends in her rebrand of trying to be that like it girl in pop, she's just following old trends from like 20 years ago, which I think is why her rebrand is low-key flopping. Also, you just couldn't really make me like Addison Rae that much. Her music is okay, but that's about it. I don't really like her as a person. She's Not the point though, not the point at all. What I'm trying to say is that his whole rebrand is just so over the top, but it's all just inspired from other people. Like, it's very Harry Styles-esque. It's very, the backflips are just so Josh Dunn. Why are you trying to do that? Like, stop. He wants to be Josh Dunn. He wants to be David. He'll never be either of those people. Is David the one that does backflips? The one that like flopped at Coachella? I don't know, I might be thinking of someone else. Everything he does is just taking from other people. Like, his whole look is just taken from other people, which is why it feels so inauthentic, because he's trying to brand himself as things that are already popular. And I think that's why it's falling flat. And I think that's why he's hitting this Coworker music thing, which I feel like a lot of other Mormon artists fall under this like Coworker music genre, like Imagine Dragons or like Lindsey Sterling, David Archuleta, artists like that, Benson Boone, obviously, because I feel like they have this sort of out of touchness, not out of touchness, but I feel like they're just slightly distant from the reality of society that we live in, that it just falls flat just a little bit, which is why it falls under Coworker music and not like unlistenable music. That's really all the thoughts that I have about this. I just think that he is a slightly weird guy who could probably rebrand himself to be a little bit more authentic to who he is instead of who he wants his audience to be, I guess. Maybe it's just a sign of the times, maybe it's the way of the political climate, but I don't know. So we're not really gonna get into that today. That's all I had to say. I have to go. I was supposed to leave like 10 minutes ago, but I'm still yapping, so bye.